Hello everyone, welcome to Mindspeak on Herald Global. I am Saimik Sen. Joining us today, Dr. Suresh Shanbhogue. He was the Directorate of Civil Aviation and currently is the Director of the Geology and Mining Department in Goa. Thank you so much, Mr. Shanbhogue, for taking out this time for us. Welcome to Herald Global.
Thank you very much.
So let me begin by asking you, as a Director of Geology and Mining Department in Goa, what are your responsibilities?
So responsibility is, as you know, the mining in the state has come to stand still from 2012, if you're aware.
Yes.
Mining is a backbone of the Goan economy, which has a century-old history.
Sure.
So with the stoppage of mining in 2012, with lots of court cases that went thereafter, so the state got badly hit both economically as well as the financial in terms of revenue to the state. So the challenge before this department was to restart mining through the auction process as per auction rules 2015.
Okay.
And basically, as a mining department, we govern the mining sector of the state as per MMDR Act, major mineral as well as the minor minerals. So we are the statutory authority for the minerals of the state, basically. And the major challenge is the starting of mining. Probably I'm posted here basically because of that, and which already I think as the course of interview progresses, I will give you more details on it.
Okay, so let's talk about certain ideas that you have in terms of how do you ensure sustainable and responsible mining practices in Goa?
Yeah, sustainable and responsible mining practices in the state is it, currently what has happened is that the mining has, as I told you earlier, it has stopped for long.
Yes.
Because of the lots of illegalities that have come on board. So now that with that auction rules in 2015 in force, and the auction process that has set in motion, the entire governance of this particular mining sector is based on the strict provisions that are put in place. This is the first part of it. The second part is that we have a limitation in terms of annual extraction limit that is put in place by the Supreme Court of India, where we cannot go beyond 20 million metric ton. So therefore, we are limiting our auctioning of mining blocks to the extent of what kind of limit we have. So though, to mention to you, though I have more than 300 leases that are there in the state, I would be able to go for not more than 40 to 50 leases with that can be auctioned. With that, my whole the limit goes off. The secondly, there is something called must have heard about this Rangarajan committee.
Yes.
Kasturi Rangam committee, sorry, Kasturi Rangam committee, which has made some 99 villages of the state under the environmental sensitive areas. So, which should be in those areas where mining leases are there, as a conscious decision, the state has decided that none of the leases which are there in those areas will be auctioned. So to that extent, we want to honor the ESA, which is declared by the Kasturi Rangan committee, but a draft notification that is there right now, which is not yet finalized, but by the MOEF and CC, even based on draft notification, as of now, we have decided we will not go for kind of a auctioning of those leases, considering that they are very highly environmentally sensitive and ecologically sensitive.
Okay, so can you tell us about the transition? You come from civil aviation now into geology and mining department. How was the experience? Like two ends actually.
I am basically a master's in statistics, and I have an MBA. I have a PhD in public finance.
Sure.
So I was a joint secretary of finance for about 6-7 years in the state. So, and I have an understanding in terms of the public-private partnership projects. That is where the then Chief Minister, the Manohar Parrikar sir, wanted that that airport has to come. And I was asking him always, what can I be given some kind of a challenging work, which I like to do. So that is where in 2014, I still remember June 1st, 2014 was Sunday. I was called to his residence. He asked, I have created a new department. An airport is to be built, tender is to be done, environment is to be, EIA report is to be prepared, EC to be got, tender, construction. So it's a new department. There is no one. If you are ready to take this challenge, probably we will issue an order. So I have not spent it, time to say yes to him. So that is where it happened in June 2014, where I took over as a director of civil aviation as a new department. Let me tell you, I had no understanding of ABC of the aviation sector. But my strength is that I am a finance guy, I am a statistics person, and I am a management person. And I know how to do tendering, how to get the work done. Rest, the sector domain experience you gain over a period of time and you understand it. So as you are aware today that I'm proud to say that Mopa Airport, that is their Manohar International Airport, is my baby.
Yes. Oh,
Last
wow.
9 years, yeah, that is basic contribution of the state to the state is mine. That is my baby. As a
Amazing.
single-handedly brought it up, not only land acquisition, environmental clearance, tender process, construction. Upon construction, now it was inaugurated on 11th December by Honorable Prime Minister. Thereafter, they said that okay, you have achieved. Now there is another department where your need is there. So that is where I moved to again to the mines department. The purpose of putting in the mines department again, my forte, that is the tendering, auctioning, and able to read and grasp and do it. I think that is where area government sees and able to deliver. So to be tell you now, after joining, I joined on 5th of July, and CM wanted that auction to be done in 6 months. I said sufficient for 3 months is sufficient for me. So I did the first launch, the first NIT on the 30th of September. And we have done two NITs successfully. We have auctioned 9 blocks so far, and one more NIT is expected in this month. So to that extent, I have a satisfaction that I'm able to deliver what government expected even in the mines department.
True. So what kind of steps can you suggest for the environmental concern related to mining in Goa? Any kind of steps do you think which will actually work? The plans basically, which you're talking about already.
No, there are two things we need to be seen. One, as an environmental impact assessment study where the EC get, where statutorily they are supposed to maintain and follow the guidelines or the conditions that are put in EC. That is the first aspect of it.
Sure.
Right? That is that these leaseholders have no choice other than doing it. That is the first part of it. The second part, which the state requires to be done, which is doesn't come under this EC conditions and other things, is that the transportation and management of this particular sector post extraction. What happens is that once the extraction is done, thereafter the whole thing starts thereafter. It's moving out of the lease area, storage, and transportation. The environmental degradation and spreading of this pollution happens in the villages in this aspect. Otherwise, within the lease area extraction, it is not a cause basically.
Sure.
The cause starts once it starts moving out from the lease area. That is where a challenge which is there, for which we have something called an ore management system. We have something called a portal called a Bhumija portal, which have ore management system, where even the transportation from A to B is connected through a GPS fitted vehicles, or are supposed to fit with GPS. Movement of vehicles get captured through GPS, and if even pollution control board gives a route approval in the state for transportation of ore. When I say route approval, means in those routes they are supposed to fit the those environmental measures, environmental parameter recording measures. They put those equipment they install.
Sure.
So lots of checks and balances have been brought in force to see that the degrade environmental impact that happens once ore starts moving from the lease area out. When I say out, it could be a plant, it could be an MPT for export, it could be a jetty for export.
Sure.
So there are various places where this ore gets moved and it gets stored. So these are the some of the steps the state has taken to see that the whole business of this iron ore is managed.
Okay. So you mentioned about transparency in terms of operations and stuff. So how do you maintain transparency in terms of mining licensing and regulations?
one mining license in terms of, if you're asking me, transparency in terms of the extraction done, movement, and revenue collection. If you're trying to ask me that right now, as you are aware, we do not have any extraction that's happening last 10 years.
Okay.
So we are going to start that now. The first lease we are expecting, it will start from October to November. The Vedanta is going to start the first extraction. First lease is going to start. However, we are already, if, 2 steps ahead to see that some kind of a lease management system, integrated lease management system, which we are working on right now. So that by that time, I already had one meeting with this prospective, the leaseholders who have won in the first NIT, so that they are also on board as a stakeholder. They can contribute the system which I am developing. We had one demo already done. We'll be having 2-3 more demos, so that the system in place is useful for both the parties. So the idea behind this management is that what has happened earlier, and let me tell you why it stopped in the state, so which we don't want to repeat again, is that there was a mismatch between what was extracted and what was exported from the state.
Okay.
Yeah, what was extracted, what was exported from the state. So that is where the whole suspicion came that there was an over extraction has happened, illegal mining has happened. They have not reported in their annual returns what they have extracted. They have exported twice what is reported in the annual return. So you must have read 35,000 crore worth, that scam, that Shah Commission, all those things came into picture. So considering that right now we are integrated lease management system, what we are now planning, which is already in being developed, and we already had 2 demos of it, is that to capture this particular aspect, that what is extracted, what is dispatched from the area, where it is getting dispatched, and if it is dispatched, suppose say they are going to put it in an area where a plot, then even plot we will geofencing it. If it is going it for a jetty, they are going to keep it. Where we will geofence that area, that the destination from source to destination both get geofenced. I know that this has moved from here to here. Now, when I say geofenced, I have the location, geo coordinates of that location. Wherever it goes, I will have geo coordinates. For say the movement of the ore from the source to destination get geofenced. I think, yeah, it get geofenced. Wherever it moves, the route get captured, the location of movement get captured, and the what is extracted, what is stored, where it is stored, and what is transported, that synchronization of data which is there, which we get captured. This is the first part. The second part is that there is something called revenue, how I capture the leakage of revenue in terms of this movement of ore from the lease to the outside lease, from different locations. It could be a plant, it could be an export, it could be for storage. So in that, there is something called the IBM average sale price, which comes into picture, right? Where we get we get the revenue share in terms of the auction premium. We get district mineral fund, we get royalty. We have something new fund called Goa Iron Ore Mineral Fund, something called NMET. These are various funds that need to be paid to the state by the leaseholder. So entire this payment system is linked, integrated with this particular dispatch, extraction, dispatch, and storage. So that what is extracted, where it is going, where it is stored, that data get captured. Second, the revenue that is payable on that extraction, on that dispatch, that get captured. So I think this is where we are trying to see that the mistake that has happened in the past, for which we had to face 10-year stoppage of this. This doesn't recur again. Yes.
Okay, so if I ask you about any kind of plan in terms of the welfare plan for the mining workers for future itself, so is there anything in place?
See, mining workers is something which is, other day I was in Central Empowered Committee, similar question came. And let me tell you one thing. The state of Goa population itself is 15 to 16 lakh. It is just a small district of any of the bigger state.
Sure.
And the population in that mining belt, if you look at that, where villages basically what we call it as, it's around 2.5 lakh, right?
Yeah.
And the amount of schemes that the state has, whether it is a social welfare schemes, we have something called a Griha Aadhar, we have something called that what is that DDSY, Dine and Social Security, where we give
Sure.
2,000 rupees per month pension, 2,000 for 3,000 to the disabled people. The gallery of schemes, so many are there, which reach every corner of the state. Plus, I have something called a DMF, District Mineral Fund. Again, that reaches to these villages. So, as of now, as per my understanding, the issue is not there in terms of a welfare part of it. Issue what they're looking at is an employment part of it.
Sure.
The question is that there was thousands of people who were employed in this particular sector uh, prior to stoppage of mining in 2012. They found them themselves kind of unemployed, and their source of living is gone, and they're used to it for decades together for that kind of a thing. Even today what I see, the on ground, the issue is this, that whether the new lessees, new successful leaders, whether they will take them back, whether they get employment or not. So that is a
True.
concern which is on ground, which we are dealing with, that concern. One of the provision made in the tender document itself is that the successful bidders have to give preference to the erstwhile workers of those villages while restart mining. So that is one of the condition that is put in the tender document itself. Otherwise, as I told you, the population being too small, case to case basis, it is getting considered. For instance, I'll give you just couple of months back, we have floated a scheme called green tax reimbursement.
Okay.
Reimbursement of green tax. This mining belt has around 8 to 10,000 trucks that are registered on my portal for transportation of ore. Their complaint is that for last 8 to 10 years, there was no transportation happening. Mining has stopped totally, while their vehicle has crossed the age of 15 years. So
Yeah.
so now they have to pay re-registration purpose. They have to pay every year green tax. It comes to around 19,000, 18,000 rupees. So they came to the state government saying that if you, for us, we do not have any business to pay. At least we will keep our trucks functional, and at least have registration alive. Pay us this green tax, refund us. So that is one scheme which is just launched about in this budget.
Sure.
Refund of green tax to the mining, in the mining belt, to the truck owners of the mining belt only. These kind of schemes which are on demand kind of a thing, where these people come and request the government that this is the required, that is required. So based on which these kind of schemes are getting launched. In the past, we have launched a couple of three or four schemes, something called a debt relief scheme.
Sure.
Those who have purchased the barge, those who have purchased trucks, those kind of machinery in the mining belt, because of stoppage of mining, every all such loans became NPA.
Yeah.
So then the government launched this scheme, is something called a debt relief scheme,
Okay.
and wherein government pumped in money to see that their loans are closed and they are not into debt kind of a thing. Similarly, some kind of relief is given for unemployment kind of in initial period. It is not a continuous period. Initial for 2 years per year unemployment kind of a dole, and per truck one truck if you also will get some 7,000, two trucks you will get 10,000. I'm not saying today's date, it was all given initially when it was
Initially.
stopped.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, today there is only one scheme which is launched very recently, is that green tax reimbursement scheme.
Okay. Mr. Shanbhogue, you have been up for a monumental task. It seems like it's a huge task that you are into itself. So, if I ask you,
Right.
what has been your learning so far from this entire, the thing that is going on in Goa itself?
No, we were talking about the mining sector, or what is your this question is specifically mining sector, or
Specifically, yes, for the mining sector.
I'll tell you one commitment which I have given to the state.
Sure.
It may be very, I'll tell you that, today's date, for any state, I'll ask you this question. Any state, which is the highest revenue earning department to any state, is the GST department.
Yes, of course.
GST or VAT,
Yeah.
VAT department is which revenue, because VAT is collected on petrol, diesel, even on ATF. For all the states in the country, 50 to 60% of the tax revenue comes from commercial tax department. That is what we call them as.
Sure.
Okay. Even in the state of Goa, today's state, that particular department is earning around 6,000 crores per year.
Okay.
And my commitment to the state is that today I am earning, last year I earned around 125 crores.
Oh, wow.
Not more than that, because everything is stopped.
Yeah, sure.
But the auction premium that is quoted by the winning bidders, it is amazing premium. I'll tell you, as per my calculation, which I have placed before the government, is that once full 20 million metric ton full capacity, if the state's extraction happens in the state, then I am likely to cross annual revenue of commercial tax department to become the highest revenue earning department in the state. That's a
Sure.
kind of a potential which the state has. There's an upbeat mood that something different is happening in the state. Otherwise, this department never given more than 800 to 1,000 crore. Even when the mining was peak, it has never given, because at that point of time, auction premium was not coming to the state. It was only royalty that was coming.
Sure.
Now with the auction rules 2015 in place, auction premium is become the additional revenue to the state. It is not even the additional revenue, it is the main revenue, because that is more than 5 times the royalty. I will give you a simple example what has happened in Orissa. That figure itself will tell you what has happened in Orissa basically. Orissa mining sector was earning around 5,000 crores
Sure.
mining, whereas commercial tax department was giving around 20 to 25,000 crores annual revenue I'm talking about.
Sure.
You can Google and check last year, Orissa mining revenue on account of this auctioning of blocks, 49,000 crores,
Wow.
while commercial tax is 25,000 crores.
Okay.
That's a kind of potential this sector has. And now imagine that now, because of this auction premium, all money is coming to the state. Then prior to this, when this mining has happened, where was all this money going? You can now imagine this. There's
Of
a
course.
kind of a potential this state has. So I think I'll be leaving a big this one to the state, that the whole perspective of the department will change. I'm going to be the highest revenue earning department. In one of the meeting speech, CM said that probably after 3 years I may not need to take loan, because mining department is going to earn huge revenue. So
Oh,
there's a
wow.
kind of a hope. There's a kind of hope which is there basically.
I
And in
wish
addition to
you.
that, in addition to that, my other baby, that
Yes, of
Mopa
course.
airport, that is going to give 36.99% revenue share. It has got a 2 year holiday. Okay, 1 year is nearing completion, another 1 year, that revenue start flowing to the state. That is also not a small amount. It's a good
No, no,
amount
of
of
course not.
revenue that you.
Definitely.
It is on
It's a
the, when
huge
I say
achievement.
it is not, it's a huge, and it's not. See, when I say revenue, it is not on profit. It's on the gross.
Okay.
So I think I'm leaving two big projects to the state which will give a huge revenue to the state in the coming days. That is what I feel. That is
True, true.
satisfaction.
Very true. So, what other states can learn from Goa?
What other states can see, the now let me give you the why Goa is something different than which of the rest of the states. I'll let me give me some time, so that let me explain to you
Sure.
why is that Goa could achieve something different than rest of the states. That's the first thing basically. For that one has to go back to the history. History is that, slightly is that, in the year 1961, I'll give you the slight historical perspective to this. when in 61, 19 December, when the state got liberated from the Portuguese rule, thereafter, an administration put a economic planning board, something called. They are asked to prepare an annual plan to the state. At that point of time, nationally, third annual plan was going on, right? So they were asked to prepare an annual plan to the state to align with the national annual plan. So we were midway at that point of time. That annual plan, priority given in that annual plan was for power sector. Annual plan said that the state requires a power sector. You should go for a thermal power plant. So you should have industries to generate jobs. So that's the kind of a priority that came. Thereafter, elections held. First elected government, Dayanand Bandorkar was the first chief minister of the state. His government came into place. The plan was placed before that government. That is where the change happened. This is sometimes, these political decisions, how things can change. 40% outlay was earmarked by that committee planning board to power sector, and some 20 or 22% for social sector. Whereas the government, then elected first government, changed the priority. Priority changing is so that 40% went to the social sector. It was decided that, I have written this even in my PhD thesis. It was decided that Goa doesn't require a thermal power plant. We will get power from the central grids for requirement of power. Priority has to go for a social sector. That is where the whole thing changed. Within a period of 10 years, nook and corner of the state had schools, health centers. Whole lot of health sector got developed. That is where you take infant mortality rate, we are at 8 or 9. Best in the, best in the country, at par with the developed countries in the world. We have reached replacement rate. We call it as IRR of 1.3. Not now, more than a decade back. That means that population is not growing here. There is no exponential growth. It is father and mother have one child kind of a norm. That is a kind of a norm. Per capita income 6 lakh rupees, 3 times the national average. Birth rate is very low, about 15 to 16. Death rate around 6. The indicators that are there of the state, as far as the social indicators are concerned, they are far, far better than the rest of the country. The reason being is that I am giving you that credit to that first government. One decision to change the outlay from a particular power sector to the social sector, that continued, and today we are the best, having best indicators in the country, basically. Now the second part of it, it is something called, state has not statically remained on a particular sectors. Somewhere in 80s, if you look at the figures of tourism figures, it started growing somewhere in 88, 89. Otherwise, earlier there was no tourism at all much. It all started, figures start 1988, 89. The shift in priority, in addition to social sector, started. The potential of tourism, which was started realizing only in 88, 89. Thereafter, now we have emerged as best tourist state in the state in the country. Now we are very small. That is where, while rest of the state, a district is managed by district collector, we have a total government to manage. Therefore, that is the advantage which the state has. Micromanagement happens to the core here. The most important, which is part of the state, is a uniform civil code. You must have heard about it, which Government of India now trying to emulate of the state, where this is the only state in the country which has a uniform civil code, which was inherited from the Portuguese regime. So that's an inherited code, and state continued to live with that code. So I think these are few aspects which the state has uniqueness in terms of the development that it has achieved.
Okay. Mr. Shanbhogue, you have been a key player in terms of modernization and development of Goa. So if I ask you what people of Goa should look forward to, what would be your answer? This is my last question.
Look, people of Goa, I'm one thing I'm really very happy that people of Goa are very alert and very sensitive, and they are especially environmentally sensitive. They should continue to do so. They should continue to do so because we are very small, and that alertness and the sensitivity to the environment need to continue. The sensitivity, I want to give a small example to you, is that NGT, National Green Terminal Pune, covers 3 states:
Sure.
Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Goa. Goa is one district of any of those states. But 50% of the cases of NGT are from Goa. This is where you can see the sensitivity of the state. So therefore, the sensitivity which is there in the state towards environment, or towards, for that matter, any developmental proposals which the state proposes, that need to continue in the state of Goa. But one thing which bothers me, which always in the state, is that there is some kind of a NIMBY syndrome is there.
Okay.
NIMBY syndrome, not in my backyard.
Okay.
There are two areas which the state is still lacking. One, sewerage network. We are only 16% of the state population is covered under the sewerage network. Rest all is a soak pit kind of a sewerage system we have. The second is the solid waste management, where though we have plants now, but the problem is that when it comes to sewerage, people don't want sewerage treatment plant in their area. They want sewerage treatment, but they don't want in their backyard.
Okay.
People want that Kuda should be managed, but they don't want such plants in their area. Something called a NIMBY syndrome. So probably if we need to come out of that syndrome, people need to start supporting such initiatives of the state, so that these are the two sectors which I find which require a quick attention, where people have to support the state initiative. This is one part of it. The second part is that there is some kind of a resistance for anything that the government does. That is there here. For anything that government does, there's a kind of a resistance which is there. It is a kind of a motivated kind of a resistance.
Sure.
So because anything you do, I will oppose. It is a kind of motivated. Probably the state of Goa people should come together and decide what they want, and a plan, if at all they want to put it across, it's fine. At the end of the day, the state has the potential to achieve, I'll tell you, the best of the indicators of a developed country. We are at that kind of a stage. We can take off kind of a stage. It is people and the government together have to draw a kind of a roadmap to take the state to the next level of development. That's what I feel.
Okay, Mr. Shanbhogue, thank you so much. It was very informative. It was an honor talking to you. Thank you so much for taking out this time for us.
Welcome. Thank you very much.